Hi friends, my name is Maylin and welcome back to my channel. I'm a flutist, performer, and music teacher located in the city of Kamloops, British Columbia, and this is my channel where we learn all things flute. So thank you so much for joining me here today. In today's video, we'll be doing Etudes number 6, and I'll be reading from the 76 Graded Studies for the Flute, part 1 on page 6. So if you're interested, then just keep on watching. As always, if you have any questions throughout the video, please feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. I do my best to answer them as soon as I see them. Also, if you do have any issues when it comes to practicing, feel free to check out my free practice guide, also located in the description down below. It gives you 8 really easy steps to follow to help you to get a more focused practice session. Alright, so let's just get right into today's video. We'll be doing Etudes number 15 and number 16, so I'm going to start by putting number 15 up right on the screen over here. Alright, so as we have been doing recently with the majority of our pieces, we're going to be going through our 4 little starter bits before we get into clapping and counting the piece. So number 1, we're going to be looking at our key signature. So we always look at the very end just before the time signature to see if we do have any accidentals in the key signature, and in this particular study we don't. So that means that you can either be in C major or A minor. So we'll take a look at the first and last notes to see if either of them are the tonic of either C major or A minor. We are starting on a C and we also end on a C, so that's a very strong indication that we are in C major. But just to check, we always want to make sure to see if we can find the raised 7th of the minor key anywhere. So as a reminder, the minor key would be A minor, and what you're going to do is just go down a semitone, and that would be G sharp. So we'll look at and see if we can find any of the G sharps in this piece, and I don't see any accidentals with a G sharp, so I would say that we are in C major, and we are. The next thing we're going to be looking at is our time signature. So here we see that nice little C there, and that stands for common time. Common time then also represents 4/4. So the top number of 4/4 is the amount of beats we have per measure. So we have 4 beats per measure, and then the bottom number tells us what kind of note that is, and 4 represents a quarter note. So that means we have 4 quarter notes per measure. Perfect. The third thing we're going to be looking at is our tempo indication, dynamics, and articulation. So we'll look at the top here. So the tempo indication is molto moderato. A quarter note is going to equal 104 beats per minute. So when I do clap and count this one later, I will be starting at 104 just because it is a great slower tempo. But if you do find it's too difficult for you, you can always slow it down. Alright, the next thing I'm going to be looking at is our dynamics. So to start with, we do have that nice little P at the beginning of that first bar, which stands for piano. Piano means softly. So we're going to play nice and soft, but make sure you do have a good tone all the way up until bar 5. We have a little crescendo there, and it goes all the way up until bar 7, and then we have that little dynamic marking there. That's a decrescendo. And then we start piano again with some hairpin dynamics. That means we're going to crescendo and decrescendo. Same thing in bar 11, crescendo and decrescendo to bar 12, and then we're also going to have another decrescendo at bar 12. 13 as well, and then some more hairpins on bar 14 and 15 to 16. And then we have a marking there, it's called dolce at bar 17, so that just means sweetly. So you can play it at any dynamic marking there. I would recommend playing at maybe a mezzo forte or mezzo piano because it is a bit higher there. And then you're going to play that dolce, and then bar 21, then we have another decrescendo, followed by another decrescendo in bar 22, and then we're ending with a hairpin and a piano dynamic. Alright, and then just to go over the articulation, a majority of the 8th notes are slurred all together. So we see a lot of fourth slurred. So do take note when the articulation does change. So in bar 7 we have 2 slurred, 2 tongued, 2 slurred, 2 tongued. And then in bar 8 it breaks away from that as well. So we have tongued, which is staccato here, 2 slurred, and tongued again. And then in bar 9 we do slur all of those 8 notes there. Make sure you also note that there are 2 pairs of slurred quarter notes in bar 10, and we have that repeated in bar 11 and 12 and 13, and then 14 we have again just the 4 8th notes slurred. And in bar 15 we do have that nice accent there, so that's a breath accent, so making sure you're putting a little bit of an extra huh behind that note just to give it a little bit more of an emphasis. And then we do have the staccato, so the dots with the slur over top. So that means that we do still want to play them detached, but not as detached as you would without the slur. So you still kind of want to have a nice phrasing there, so it's not as detached, again, as staccatos by themselves. Then we do see that same articulation again in 17, so you're going to do the same thing articulation-wise. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much all slurred, all the way up to the end. Make sure you also take note of all the breath marks here, so you want to make sure that you're taking a breath every time you see one of those check marks, as that helps with the overall phrasing of the piece. And last but not least, we're going to be going on to number 4 here, and that is going to be our roadmap. We do have some repeats, so let's check and see where we'll be going throughout this piece. So we'll start at the beginning, playing all the way up to bar 8, then take note that we do have the beginning of a repeat there at bar 9. And then what we're going to be doing is we'll play bar 9 all the way to bar 16, repeat that, so you're playing it a second time. And then once you play that second time, then you're just going to go on from 16 to 17 all the way to the end, making sure that you have a nice fermata over the rest, meaning that when you finish the note, you're going to take a nice rest and don't put your flute down until you've had a nice moment in there to really enjoy that elongated rest. Alright, so now that we've gone through our 4 starter breaths, now we're going to go into the clap and count. I won't be clapping any of the repeats, but when you do play it with the flute, I will play that with the repeats for you. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 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 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, rest. All right, very good. Of course, if you found that that was just a bit too fast for you, go back down into that little gear, into the settings, and change the playback settings there so it's a little bit slower. Make sure that you go to a setting that is slow enough for you so that you aren't making a lot of mistakes. And then as you learn the rhythm here, then you can use your metronome and slowly increase the overall tempo until you are at your final tempo, which is again a quarter note equals 1 of 4. Now that we have clapped and counted that, now we'll play it with the flute. Again, as a reminder, I will be playing the repeat here, so make sure that you do take note of that. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. So that one should be really fun to play. And just to recap, I will go over those notes just very quickly in case you need a quick reminder on which notes we are playing here. So the lowest note that we're going to be playing is a G, and then we go up all the way, again, no accidentals, all natural, up to a high D. So I will again just go over those note names for you really quickly. So for G, that low G starting, of course, we're going to be going on fingers 1, 2, 3 with the thumb back and the pinky pinky in your right hand. Then you're going to lift that finger up on your left hand, which is your ring finger. So you should just be playing your thumb, 1, 2, and then your pinky in the right hand. Next we have that B. So we have 1 in your left hand, thumb, and your pinky in the right hand. Then you're going to lift the thumb up at the back to get that C. Then you're going to do exactly the opposite to get that D. So that means in the left hand we have 3, 4 in the thumb, 1, 2, 3 in the right hand. Then for E, we're going to be putting down that first finger in your left hand. You're going to lift up your right ring finger, and then you're going to be putting down your pinky on the right hand as well. So that should be your E. Then we have F, so you're just going to be lifting up that middle finger so that you're playing 1, 2, 3 with the thumb, and then your first finger and your pinky as well. Lift up your right hand first finger to get that G, again that we're having it before, and then A is the same, B, C, and then that high D. All you're going to be doing is playing the same fingerings of D, just with your left hand. All the right fingers are off. So that should sound like this. So I'm starting from G, going all the way up to D. And those are all the notes. In case you do need a better visual, I am including a fingering chart in the description down below that you can find in all of my videos. Okay, we're going to be going on to the second etude here, number 16. So I'm going to put it up on the screen right over here. So the first thing we're going to look at is our key signature again. So of course we are going to look right in between the treble clef and our time signature. We don't see any accidentals there. So again, that means we're either in C major or A minor. Let's take a look at the beginning, first note and the last note to see if they're in the tonic. So we don't start on a C on the first note, but it is part of that C major triad. That G is the fifth. But we do end on a C, so again, very strongly indicating that we are in C major. As always, we're going to look for that raised seventh in the minor key to see if it's there for any indication that there's a possibility it might be in there. A minor would be the relative minor, so we go down 1 semitone, and that is a G sharp. So again, we're going to look at all the G's here, and none of them are sharp, so I would say we are in C major, and we are. The next thing we're going to look at is number 2, our time signature. So here we see 2, 4. So again, the top number tells us how many beats we have per bar, so we have 2 beats per bar. The number on the bottom tells us how many or what note type we have, and again 4 represents quarter notes, so that means you have 2 quarter notes per measure. Perfect. The third thing we're going to look at is our tempo indication, dynamics, and articulation. So our tempo here is moderato, and again we get the marking here, so quarter note equals 120. Now we are going to go on to our dynamics. So again, we're starting off at a piano, just softly. We do have grazioso, again that is a Italian term, sorry if I butchered it, and it means graceful, smooth, or elegant in style. So that means you want to play it really nice and gentle and smooth. So we do have some, again, hairpin markings here at bar 5, crescendo from 5 to 6, and then 7 to 8 we do have a decrescendo, and then on bar 9 we're back to piano again. And it's piano all the way through. If you feel like you want to experiment with a little bit of the dynamics, make sure that you just come back to piano at bar 17. Doing the same thing again, we have that hairpins at bar 23 and 24, coming back down to piano again. The same thing, we have again hairpins at the end of that phrase at bar 31 and 32, coming back down to piano again. This is a very soft etude. Bar 37 again, piano, until we have that crescendo at the 4th last bar. And then the 2nd last bar, we also again have a crescendo, and you can end down whatever dynamic marking you want, maybe a mezzo forte or forte, depending on how loud you end up getting. Okay, the next thing we're looking at is that articulation. So we do have a lot of 2 third and 1 tongue with the staccato, so make sure that you are following that consistently all the way through when you see that particular motif. We do have some slurs, of course, just going over all those 8th notes in bars 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8. Bar 14, that we do have 2 third, 2 tongue, which are staccato. And then we do have the breath mark again in bar 16. Then we have a similar thing with the 2 third, 1 tongue, 17, 18, making sure at 19 that you do play that 1 tongue, 3 third, then that is the same articulation for bars 20, 21, 22. It does change to 23, so we do have 1 tongued and then 7 third. Going back to that same motif as before, and then again 1 tongue, 3 third, 1 tongue, 3 third, 1 tongue, 3 third, all the way. And then bar 33, we do have a change again there. So we're gonna have 4 third, 4 third, 4 third plus that quarter note, fourth third, and then back to that motif again. Make sure that you do observe the ral at the end there. So ral is short for rallentando, which means to slow down gradually. So essentially what you really just want to do is place that last C really nice by just slowing down ever so slightly. And then just make note as well at the very end, we do have that breath mark there as well as a fermato. So that's the little curve with the dot in the middle, meaning that you need to hold that note for longer than is written. So at least you want to do half of the amount extra, if not more. So at least hold this note for 3 beats. And lastly, we're going to be going over number 4, our roadmap. So we do have some repeats in here, so let's just take a look. We're going to be starting at the beginning, reading through straight all the way up to bar 17. Then take note that we do have that repeat starting there. And then you're going to play that all the way through to bar 32, repeat back to 17, play that all the way through until the end, making sure that you do, again, get that fermata at the end. Wonderful. So now that we've gone through our starter bits, now we are going to be clapping and counting. If you find it's too fast, playback settings and slow it down to whatever tempo you need in order to clap this without making any mistakes. And of course, I will be clapping this without any repeats, but I will be playing them on the flute. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1, first. 1 and 2, 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 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 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 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, rest, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, rest, 1 and 2, 1, rest, 1 and 2 and 1, 2. Alright, very good. So again, if that was a little bit too fast for you, go back into the playback settings and turn it down so that you can clap that at a tempo that you feel comfortable and that you're not making a lot of mistakes with. Alright, so now that we have clapped and counted, now we're going to play it with the flute. Again, I will be playing it with the repeats and a quarter note equals 120. 1, 2, 1. A really nice, fun little study. Again, just making sure that you do take note of all the articulation and really make sure that you follow those to a T. Alright, so that's going to be it for today's video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. I do my best to answer them as soon as I see them. If you do have any issues when it does come to practicing, feel free to check out my free practice guide, also located in the description down below. As always, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And as always, happy fluting!